Well, there she is after 1 year of use. I probably should have wiped her down or cleaned her up. Maybe cleaned up the garage a little bit, but then that wouldn't be very authentic, would it? Let's go ahead and take a look at it. First off, why did we decide to build one? Why not buy one? Well, if you've done any research in trying to find some sort of trailer that can go off-road, whether it's a teardrop, a square drop, an adventure trailer, kind of like ours, you know that you're lucky if you find one for $9,000. But most of them are $15,000, $20,000, even as high as $30,000, $40,000. So even at the lowest end, that just wasn't even in our realm of thinking or even feeling like it was approachable for us to go and get a trailer. So I thought, I'm fairly confident that I can build one for a fraction of the price. Now, I know that most of those come with 972.1 features, and I just wasn't really sure that we needed those features. I just wanted a basic trailer that would carry our camping stuff, that we could take anywhere, to kind of help ease things out when we're setting up camp and tearing down, and just help us to get out there and go camping, which is something we enjoy doing more often. How long did it take us? And what kind of goals do we have in mind when we were building this? Well, the really cool part of the story is from the day we started our very first cut to the day that we had our final product was 28 days. Now, mind you, I took off several days of work, spent weekends, several weekdays, and just building this thing, spending time in the garage. But before we even really talk about the build process, I think we gotta back up a little bit and talk about what took place before that. See, a good project starts with a good design. I took the time to design all the details in CAD and priced everything out. I did this over the course of weeks, and I really took my time doing it because I didn't really feel like I was in a rush by any means. So I priced everything out and purchased all of the materials. We're talking rooftop tent, the rubber seals, pintle hook. We purchased all of the hitch receivers that we would be using, the sheet metal and all of the design, the square tubing. I went to the metal store and I got a steel. The suspension, the wheels and tires, the wiring that we used for all of the lights in the back. We had all of the parts before we even started building. Plus, we had to make sure that Kevin, our corgi, was happy with the tent. Remember how I said I designed this whole thing ahead of time? Well, when you design something like this, or anything for that matter, you have a couple of goals that you should keep in mind when you're designing. Do you want this to be the lightest trailer out there? Do you want a bunch of features? You want it to be manufacturable, in other words, easy to make? Or do you want this to be the best budget build of all budget builds? So for us, we decided that we wanted to design it so it was easy to make in our garage. And by hopefully keeping it simple, it would also help us keep our budget down. So we just prioritized a few of the expensive parts that we thought were important, but the rest of it, we just kept simple and make it easy to make. Since I had made all of my drawings ahead of time, I was pretty confident on what material we needed, so I started by making all of my cuts. The most critical part of the build was getting the base of the trailer frame as straight as possible, because I knew that this would affect my wheel alignment, and everything else was going to be connected to it and built off of that. After 1 weekend, I had the basic frame of the trailer ready to go. Then we knocked out some of the details, like holes for the suspension before putting on the wheels, and got all the sheet metal then ready for all of the walls. One thing I didn't design for was the height of my garage. The box of the trailer is only 4 foot by 4 foot, but the total length of the trailer is somewhat over 8 feet. Luckily, everything worked out. Once we had everything made, the doors put on. You even got to stop in here, so that way you can't, oh man, you know. Wheels assembled, we began to paint both inside and outside. By the end of that month, we had our overland trailer. We have our tongue box up front with our spare tire and extra fuel. The entire thing is covered in Herculiner, and we chose white paint for the inside because apparently we love seeing how dirty it can really get in there. You know, and didn't say everything was perfect on this. We have the door in the back as well as a small door on the side. And let's not forget about the most adorable propane tank you've ever seen. I think right after we designed it, we used it 3 times in the following month. And over the past year, maybe like 15.4 times. I'm not really sure, just ballparking it. So how much did this whole thing cost us? After we paid for everything, including the tent, it was about $4,300. Now, the tent we got at a good deal. They were having some sale. So that was about $1,000 by itself. And the axle suspension is just about another $1,000. So that kind of gives you an idea of how much it costs just to build the trailer. So minus the tent, because everyone may want to choose their own tent, this costs us around the ballpark of $3,200 to build, including the tongue box and the tires, the wheels, everything like that. And obviously you can save some money in different areas. You can kind of find some good deals. Like for example, we decided to go with off-the-shelf wheels and we got some used tires. But for those of you out there, if you want to just go on Marketplace and find some wheels, you can definitely save some money in different areas. Now you can find trailers like this, very similar to this, for about $5,000 without the tent put on. And that's not bad. It's really a pretty good price compared to the other things out there, because most other things out there start at least at $9,000, and you're lucky if you get it in the single digits. We definitely hit our goal of building it at a lower cost, and it was pretty easy to do, relatively speaking. Now that we've had the trailer for just over a year, there's a few updates that we want to make, because as we've lived with it, we've realized that there's a few things that we would rather have when we get out to camp. For example, we used to have a side door that folded down, and now instead we want to make sure that the door folds sideways. And then inside we're going to have a table that folds out, so that we will have a table within minutes of getting to camp. I'm sure that there's plenty of things that I forgot in this overview, but it seems like a pretty good place to start. If you're interested in any of the designs that I used and made for this trailer, feel free to contact me using the email that I've got in the description below.